Hey fam, I know I've been MIA for a while. Your girl have been studying for her Scrum Master certification, and I've been doing interviews every single week of the year thus far, okay? I've been busy, all right? But if you want to keep up with me and as far as like what I'm doing and even see behind the scenes of the interviews of like what I'm being asked and how I'm answering them, make your way to my YouTube channel and watch my Life with Lola series. In that series, I actually show you behind the scenes of my life and all that other good stuff. But a good chunk of it, especially in this specific season of Life with Lola, there's been a lot of studying and a lot of interviewing. And if you want interview practice, if you want to kind of know what are they asking project managers out there, highly recommend you go watch and learn, okay? Now, I want to make this video for two reasons. One, I want to share a theory that I have, and I would like for HR professionals to provide their input, hot take. And then I also want to share some things that I've been noticing in these interviews that I've been doing that may be beneficial to you, and maybe you've been noticing it and you don't really know what's going on. So let's get started. First things first, the theory. So I have this concept that's been running through my head on how we're getting selected to even be called for these interviews. And I want to say that it low key, matter of fact, high key, it really may not be your resume and or your experience that's the issue as to why you're not getting called. And I really want to have this conversation right now because I know a lot of people that are applying and feel like they are being rejected as if like they're not good enough, and that might not be the problem. And depending on how this theory is interpreted, it might help you be able to not take those rejections so personal. Hear me out. So back in October, November, maybe even December, I think, I had applied to a couple federal government jobs, right? IT project management, program manager, analyst, all type of roles. I applied to them, got referred, pushed, blah, blah, blah. And then now in January, literally the day after the inauguration, those roles were all canceled, right? Now, one of the perks of the role being canceled is you are now able to kind of see how many people applied for the role. Like it tell you how many applicants. One of those jobs had 4,000 plus applicants. Another one had 1,000 something applicants. And in my head, I'm like, y'all only hiring one person for the role and y'all got all these applicants. There's no way there's a body, there's a person that is reading through those applications to pick. And so then I started to think about like, well, how does the ATS system actually work? Like, how is that applicant tracking system? What process are the applications going? So here's my theory. Let me know if I'm on par. Let me know if I'm in the park, okay? Because I could be down the street. Anyways, so we're using an example. A company puts a project manager role, and in the ATS system, they say they want to pull a 500 applicants, right? And that means any application that comes after 500, after the 500 applicants, you're going to automatically get that rejection email. You're going to get that email. Like you'll submit an application, and then 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, an hour later, 2 hours later, the system is like, you ain't been applied. You ain't that person. And you like, how? Like, I just submitted my stuff. Okay, walk with me. So everybody after that 500, they don't get access to being in the pool. Okay, boom, we got our pool. 500 people are in the pool. Now, the HR, talent act, whatever person, they go in the system and they're putting in a specific parameters in there, like, hey, the person got to have this amount, these words, blah, blah, blah. And then they tell the system, I need you to take this pool of 500 to 25 people, right? And this is where when you apply matters, because if you applied as soon as it opened, your likelihood of getting, if you meet the parameters, your likelihood of getting in that 25 goes up versus if you applied the day before the role closes. You get what I'm saying? So they get the 25. Now the list of 25 is in front of HR, and then HR is now going to look through each of those resumes. So they already used the system, and now they're going to look through the resume based off of the ideal candidate profile that the team who needs this person is looking for. So they go through the 25. From that 25, they get down to 10. They call the 10. From that 10, it got slashed to 5. And then 5 are invited for initial interviews. From that, they cut it down to 2 until you get your final candidate. This is my thought on how they select a candidate, which when you see it like this makes you realize that in that pool of 500 were a lot of qualified people. But because now we had to put another parameter, and one of those, and we had to put another parameter, and you may have applied late, you just didn't get picked because you were one of the last people to apply versus one of the first people to apply. And y'all may have had the same resume. Maybe you even have a better one. So am I on track with that? Am I in the market? Is that right? I don't even know if that's how the system works. I may have just made up something, but in my head, that's what I'm thinking. Now, with that said, one of the things I've been noticing is when you apply matters, okay? I had an interview in which I made it to the final round, and it was just our last 2 candidates, and they selected the other candidate. I applied to that role November 30th. I got called by HR for my phone interview January 30th, 2 months later. So that leaves me to believe that if the role was open up until the end of January, people who applied in January didn't stand a chance because I was qualified and applied first. That makes sense? Same thing applies to a role that I just interviewed for before this video. I applied for a role, I don't even remember the role because I applied to so many at a time. I applied to it in early January. They called me literally this week to have the phone interview. And I'm like, what if somebody had applied last week? Another example. I did a phone interview, and I did a initial interview with a company who didn't really know what they was looking for. A lot of these companies don't know what they're looking for, y'all. I did an interview with them, and I was their first interviewer. I was the first person they interviewed, one of the first applicants that they saw that kind of looked like what they were looking for. So that means there had to be other people that was applying way after me that didn't get selected. You get what I'm saying? So I think timing matters. Everyone's experience is different, but I think when you are searching for roles, you need to filter to see last 24 hours, last 3 days, last 7 days, and hurry up and get in on those roles so that when they do decide to go back and review everything, you're one of the first people that slide through, of course, if you're qualified and meet all the other requirements or whatever. Forgive me for the lighting issues, y'all. That doesn't matter. The content is what matters, okay? So one of the interviews that I had today, they asked about my AI experience. So I'm noticing a lot more AI conversations and verbiage in job descriptions. And on the application, I checked the box about, my AI experience, but it's not on my resume. And I don't even think I realized it wasn't on my resume until the lady specifically said, I noticed you checked off the application and said that you have conversational AI experience and automation experience. However, I don't see it on your resume. Can you tell me about this experience? Once I start talking, she's like, oh, okay, she does have this experience. And that's where it hit hey, I don't have any type of AI certification on my resume. And that's something I need to go push for. And so specifically, they were asking about conversational AI, which is using voice, talking to a device or a system, whether you use your voice or your texting. So the ChatGPT, the Claude AIs, using those type of things. And then as far as automation, she wanted to know about my experience with those type of AI automated deployments, which I did have experience. An example, I was with a company and my team did a Microsoft chatbot deployment that falls under an automation deployment or automation experience. So I just wanted to kind of talk about some things that I've been noticing in the interviews. And the last thing I want to say is apply. 10 applications a day, increase your chances, because remember what I just said, there was 4,000 people that applied. We literally just watched 200,000 people get fired from the federal government, and then another 200,000 from tech. There's over 500,000 people looking for work minimum in the US. I'm going to need you to apply to multiple jobs to increase your chances. Okay, so hop in the chat. What y'all think?